Good evening and welcome to the news here on TV2 for this Wednesday, March the 7th. This is news you can count on. Community organizations have all kinds of issues. There's asbestos in some of our schools. Here comes the Dolphinarium, and on St. Croix, the Montessori school playground's getting a rebuild. We'll have all the news for you coming up right now. Good evening. Welcome to the news. We've got lots of good stories for you this evening. We're going to tell you all about that Montessori school playground. We're going to take you to the Dolphinarium. You can see what it's going to look like. And we've got stories about some of our young people leaving the territory and coming back or not coming back. Stay tuned. We've got it all for you coming up.
The Mental Health Forum, which was yesterday, March 6, that was hosted by the office of Senator Nellie Rivera O'Reilly, brought the community, advocates, and providers together to dialogue about the challenges residents face with finding resources and support for mental illness.
So tonight, we want it to be an evening of information and exchange. We have provided for you a panel of professionals and a panel of people who are advocates. These individuals will share with you tonight what services are available here in the territory for individuals with mental health disabilities, for your loved ones or for yourself.
So we like to think of trauma in terms of the big picture, but I submit to you that on a daily basis, we experience stressors and we have experiences that can be deemed traumatic. And if we do not take care of ourselves, then that's where we segue into mental health and substance use disorder.
What am I concerned about? Because we're seeing people, we're not just doing domestic violence and sexual assault and crime victims. We're seeing people that's severely depressed. I'm seeing people that's suffering from bipolar disease. We're seeing people that are experiencing multiple personalities. We're seeing people with possible dual diagnosis, and they're victims of domestic violence and sexual assault as well.
I have a son who has mental illness. He had PTSD from being in Iraq. And when he came home, he struggled. There are no services here. There are no VA services here that really work. And there was no type of way to get him even the VA benefits. And so I had to learn what mental illness was. I had to learn that there are triggers. And I had to learn that there were things that you don't do if you're a caregiver. And what the Family to Family program does is teach that to other family members.
This is a serious issue, and it's one that's not going to go away quickly. All of us have been stressed by the storms, by the recovery from the storms, by the long time it's taken for all of this to happen. And you add that to the mental illness issues that were already present in the Virgin Islands, and you've really got a problem on our hands. Now, on top of that, all the services that are available are currently being stretched to the maximum, with all the standard issues to deal with, plus the additional stresses of the storms. There are a lot of people walking around who are depressed, who are bipolar, who are experiencing not able to get the things that they need, and their mental health issues rise up. What we really need to do right now is to take the organizations that deal with mental illness and strengthen them. But where's that going to come from? Where are the funds coming from to take care of the organizations that are taking care of the people? This problem's not going to go away, and it's going to need a lot of people and a lot of time and money to solve it. We'll have more stories now about some community organizations in our community.
Federal Reserve Bank President William Dudley was in the territory on Tuesday and met with a group of non-profit leaders in hopes of getting a better understanding of the problems facing the territory. One of those leaders was Junia John Strocker, CEO of Lutheran Social Services of the Virgin Islands. LSSVI is a private child and family service agency which provides homes, health, and emotional care, as well as outreach services for the community. Mrs. John Strocker spoke about the exodus of the younger generation from the territory, which has left a gap when it comes time to take care of the elderly.
Lutheran Social Services, the elderly population lack the support from family because they're all away. So they're aging, the children are away, and so we are trying our best to provide support for them.
With most of their families gone, some elderly has become stagnant, stuck in their homes waiting for help.
And so from providing some sort of companionship, taking them out shopping, and just giving, because we don't have assisted living here, providing support that they could age in place, has been really challenging. And so we focus on that every day. But yeah, the needs are great out there because the families are just not present.
Many reasons were given for the exodus: lack of opportunity, cost of living, hurricane damage to houses which left families without a place to live, and the fact that some can't afford to come home. But Mrs. John Stricker still had a positive outlook for the future.
We have to believe that we'll have a brighter future. And smaller communities have done it, and the Virgin Islands will also be able to survive the challenges that we currently have. It'll just take all of us, putting forth an effort.
For News 2, this is James Gardner.
Just a moment ago, we were hearing about mental health issues and the organizations that are trying to take care of our community's mental health needs. Now, here's the chairman of the New York Federal Reserve Bank coming to our community to listen to our not-for-profit organizations, and they have another take on the same problem. Young people, after the storms, leaving the Virgin Islands to go find jobs and businesses and opportunities for their children in the States, leaving behind the elders. And who's taking care of the elders? And will the young people come back? And can the social service agencies that were taking care of the elders continue to do that? It really is a continuation of the mental health issue. And we really have to look at this asking ourselves, who's going to take care of the elders? Who's going to take, or is our community going to become one of older and older people? If the young people all leave and don't come back, where are the new babies coming from? Who's going to be in the schools? Who are the teachers going to be teaching? And then will the community shrink down to a population of just elders who need a lot of care without a lot of younger people to take care of them? We've got another story now about asbestos in our schools right now.
Facility inspections last week discovered asbestos material in 3 schools in the St. Thomas St. John district. The asbestos materials were found in the Ullamulla School Library, a hurricane-damaged building at Julius Sproul School, and classrooms 229A, 230A, 111B, 114B, storeroom 229A, and the physical education weight room of Charlotte Amalie High School. The Virgin Islands Division of OSHA is collaborating with the Department of Education to properly address the asbestos found at the schools.
The Department of Education have been in collaborative conversations with the commissioner as well as their head engineer individual, and we're working with that. We also have advised them, and they are also working with other departments that have enforcement roles such as DPNR. EPA was involved on the FEMA side. Now DPNR is the local arm of that. They have a role in it as well. So we're working collaboratively with them to make sure that we have a good solution to make sure everyone is safe, from the removing the items to disposing of the items. And whatever contractor is picked to deal with it is the right contractor, and he meets the requirements to fix it and to dispose of it.
Asbestos fibers can be inhaled without knowing and become trapped in the lungs. This material is a known carcinogen and can cause chronic lung disease, cancers, and other issues. Asbestos abatement procedures are able to be implemented relatively easily and have occurred in the past.
The means to get rid of it, you don't necessarily have to pull the tile up. It's a procedure called encapsulation. So you would put a subfloor on top of the tiles, keep them undisturbed, put new flooring on top, and that will be the procedure that we do. The department has demonstrated ability to do that. They have done that at schools like Alexander Henderson that had issues like this. So the department has a plan to assess the rooms and which rooms are bad and which rooms are in question, and the rooms that are necessarily the worst shape are the ones we deal with first, and they would monitor them on a day-to-day basis or weekly basis from a maintenance standpoint to take the measures. But the monies are allocated for it. A project worksheet was done at the JFO. A contract is going to be served once we find a vendor that meets the requirements to do that, and they will be abated. and the area will be safe, and the employees will be allowed to go back into that area.
We have to be very careful when we talk about asbestos, because a lot of people hear that if there's asbestos dust, it's a carcinogen. That's correct. But if it's encased, if it's in tiles, or if it's in walls, it isn't dangerous by itself. You can touch it, it won't hurt you. So the issue is, do you take it up, which would cause more of it to break, to turn into fibers, to get into people's lungs, or do you leave it in place and cover it, encapsulate it, make it so that nothing touches it? The OSHA people are going to be looking at our schools and making sure that the correct procedure is taken. If it should be taken out, that has to be done very carefully with hazmat suits and materials put into special bags to be taken away to safekeeping. But if it's floor tile, it's better just to put another floor on top of that and encase it so that it doesn't fracture, it doesn't break, and it doesn't become dangerous. We'll monitor this for you, and we'll keep you posted on how the schools do and when they're safe to use. Now, here comes weather on TV2, news you can count on.
Good evening. Hope you've had a great Wednesday so far. As we look at our satellite imagery, you can make out pretty quiet conditions across most of the Caribbean. Farther off to the north, however, there is a cold front that's working its way through Florida, dropping into the northern Bahamas, going to provide some showers in that area through tonight, before some drier air works in for tomorrow. Closer to home here now on that satellite imagery, we have had plenty of low cloud cover nearby, but a good amount of sunshine mingling on in there as well. So overall, not a bad situation. For tonight, partly cloudy and dropping down to 72 degrees. Let's look around the area for tomorrow, and I think we'll be seeing a mix of sun and clouds in most spots. High temperatures in the low 80s, pretty pleasant. Your forecast at St. Thomas, also 82 degrees with some sun around. We're reducing that threat for showers. I think the air is going to be a little too dry, so likely not going to see much in the way of precipitation. St. Croix, warm at 85 degrees. And let's take you out on the water. All right, we still have a small craft advisory in effect through Thursday night. Those waves remain rather high at 8 to 10 feet on the Atlantic side. Your winds, though, not too terribly blustery. The waves are more from a system that is developed well out into the Atlantic. On the Caribbean side, also have a small craft advisory here as well through Thursday night, and waves again 8 to 10 feet, but the wind's not too bad. Here's that extended forecast for you. Looks pretty quiet through the rest of the week. Now, as we head on into the weekend, may see a shower in spots. I think that those showers will be few and far between. We're watching a cold front that's going to sink a little closer to us, but it will likely wash out a little bit farther off to our north. So that's why we're only calling for a couple showers, with the majority of the day staying dry. And again, high temperatures remaining in the low 80s, overnight lows in the low 70s. Have a great night.